Hello everyone, a slightly different video from what I normally create. I just wanted to talk about a few things relating to researching history for content on YouTube. First and foremost, how do I research history? I've mentioned it before, but the channel is run by one chap, me, Callum. And obviously I do everything on the channel. Researching is actually my favourite part of the process of making the video. I really enjoy reading. My eyesight isn't the best, so I try not to stare at a screen for too long, but when it comes to researching history, I start by trying to read as many primary sources as possible. Now, covering the early Middle Ages in Britain, there's not that many sources. You've got Gildas, Bede, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles, Charters, etc., compared to, say, the High Middle Ages, where you've got plenty of chroniclers like John of Worcester, William of Malmesbury, Roger of Howden, Roger of Huntingdon, etc. Just so many, and of course, archaeological reports help immensely. Once I've read the primary sources and have come to somewhat of an interpretation of the topic, I'll read the secondary sources, and then I quite like to read a few historians' books on the topic, because they offer their own interpretation, and sometimes if I can't get my hands on a source, these books can have that source either referenced or listed in the book. This is one of the many difficulties when researching history, is sometimes a primary source is incredibly expensive. I'll show an example, the life of St. Dunstan, a useful primary source which covers over quite a few Anglo-Saxon kings of England. Now, to buy the translated version from, say, Waterstones or Amazon, the price as of recording this video is over £150, which is $188. Yikes. Luckily, I have a PHF version. This version I'm mentioning is a fairly new translated version, hence the price, as it's a useful resource. The other version is an 1874 version from the Victorian historian William Stubbs, so a bit out of date. That little story is just one issue when researching history. The reason I'm talking about researching history on YouTube and why it's important is because I've noticed a shift in the last few years, due to a few factors, the biggest reason being the rise of AI or AI history, which, if I'm going to be frank, is absolutely dog shit. It's awful and it's just getting worse. I've seen AI history videos suggested next to my own, which I'm not happy about. I don't use AI and I don't plan to. When you upload a video onto YouTube, it does ask whether any of the video content is AI generated. So YouTube does have something in place. And the thing with these AI generated history videos, there's no sources, there's no references, there's no citations, it's just skimming whatever information there is and dumping it out. Then there's also the AI created images, which are always going to be historically inaccurate. And the artwork is taken from an actual artist and just fed into the AI. I've been on the platform for nearly 8 years, and I feel that my work has improved immensely over the years. I'm not trying to toot my own horn and say I'm the best, but I like to think I do my due diligence when creating history videos. Now, it's not just me talking about the rise of AI and how to determine whether something is real or not in this increasing misinformation age. Other history channels have talked about it, and I feel that if you're going to make history content on YouTube, you need to do the bare minimum of listing your sources. The reason I say this is because I've noticed you, the audience, are being more aware of AI slop, especially from the images. As I'm part of the history community on YouTube, I know there's also been a pushback from other creators who are trying to establish who makes good history videos on YouTube. There's a lot of good history creators, but unfortunately there's also a lot of bad ones, which outweigh them. Mostly again the AI slop ones. One criticism is that some of the biggest history creators on YouTube do not list their sources. Now, this is not a personal attack. This is just criticism. One channel you should all be familiar with is called Epic History. They've been around for a while. In a post on their community tab, they stated that there's some dodgy history on YouTube, and we're daring to predict that as some channels delegate the writing and images to AI, it's going to get worse. So how can you know what to trust, what's reliable, properly researched, and accurate? Epic History has been around for nearly 10 years. and we now have a full-time staff of 3 university history graduates. We increasingly work with specialist academics who act as consultants for our scripts and videos. You can't trust everything on YouTube, but with Epic History, you're in safe hands. That's all well and good, but the criticism I would offer is that they don't list, cite, or reference their sources. If we look at one video, for example, their most popular videos are on the Napoleonic Wars, and one video is the Napoleonic Wars 1804 to 1814, all parts. If you look in the description tab, there's nothing, no sources. I'm just going to reiterate that this is just pure criticism, not a personal attack. But you can't say, quote, properly researched and accurate, and not even list your sources. One counterpoint for Epic History is it's good that they have academics helping them, brilliant, but I would just say list your sources. Epic History do read out some of their sources on screen, but you need to list them, especially as they said about the rise of AI use in history. So when I refer to my sources, I sometimes read them out. Or if I refer to them, you'll see a number in the top right hand side of the screen. That's a citation number, and if you look at the top comment, you'll see a list of references, so you can either find the quote or the information I'm referencing. The reason the references are in the top comment, which is pinned by me, is because there's not enough characters in the description tab. Another example is if I say the phrase during a normal video, historians disagree, again, a number will appear and that will be in the references. This time, it will be 3 to 4 different historians' books on the subject, so if you want to look up different interpretations. Over the years, I've had a few people who have enjoyed the content reach out and email me asking for more information or which books to buy or loan from the library, which is lovely. The other issue with researching history for YouTube with the rise of AI is that content by good creators is being scalped by AI. I'll show an example. This video by Sans Roman History explains what motivated soldiers to be the first to climb the siege ladder. An incredible video that lists its sources, which is perfect. And then if you look at the next video in the search tab, it's the same video, just put through an AI. And it's a really strange one, where it's 2 AIs talking to each other, like some bloody podcast, with AI-generated images. So just an all-round bad package of content. Again, no sources, nothing. So you can imagine good history creators' frustrations when you've put a lot of effort into making a good video, only for an AI to take it and repackage it. There's also the time consumption as well. It doesn't take long for an AI history video to be made, but a WoW research video can take months. I would put AI history content alongside React content as being some of the worst, air quotes, content on YouTube. Going back to the research part on YouTube, the way in which I gather my sources is done in a few ways. As I mentioned, I enjoy reading books over reading on a screen. The way I obtain my books is that I normally shop on a website called World of Books. They sell second-hand books for charity. Depending on the topic, I can find a whole range of books on their website. I rarely use Amazon for ethical reasons, unless it's the only place I can get a certain book. But sometimes, if it's a unique book, like this one on Edgar, King of the English, I'll try and get that book on whatever website sells it. One other way is charity shops. So I'm from Worcester, which isn't a massive city, but it has a lot of good bookshops. The other place I look is in a town called Tewkesbury, which again has a lot of nice bookshops. I have used my local library a few times, but it's rare that I can't get hold of a book. As for online research, there's Internet Archive, and a few other primary sources are uploaded, such as the Annals of Ulster. However, if there's multiple versions of a book, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles is a perfect example, I can ask one friend of mine who is a historian, which is the best version to get. Some of you will know him. He's one of my best friends, Josh, who presented the video about the medieval doom painting. So that's how I procure my research material. There's only 2 more things I wanted to mention for researching. The first one is a knock-on effect from the plagiarism video by H Bomber Guy about a year ago, where he basically showed a few creators who were plagiarizing others' works in their videos. That trickled down into history YouTube. The channel, which has a Latin name, but in English it's Truth and Charity, talked about plagiarism in the YouTube history sphere. I'll link the video. I suggest watching it. To summarize the video, he goes over a few topics, one being listing and citing sources, or the lack of. When I watched the video, it did make me think how I could improve my work. The final thing I wanted to talk about is going forward, what to look out for when watching history content on YouTube. It's up to the viewer. You might enjoy the entertainment of history content instead of worrying about if the history presented is accurate or even researched properly. But we all love to tell a good tale, and I think if I can make content that's informative, interesting, and slightly funny, then I feel I've done a good enough job, and I can relax with a cup of tea. That covers everything I wanted to say on the topic. If you've got any questions, feel free to comment, or if you have any criticisms, as long as you're polite, I'll respond in kind. Thank you all for watching. If you'd like to see more content, you can support me on Patreon or YouTube channel membership. You'll be able to see some behind the scenes stuff and upcoming content. Cheers.